Armie Hammer in a confined space with a lot of women that leads to an investigation. And then there's Death on the Nile. Hey there guys, my name is Tom. Welcome back to my movie channel and thank you very much for joining me for this. My review of the brand new Kenneth Branagh adaptation of the Agatha Christie novel Death on the Nile. If you guys haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies. So Death on the Nile, once again, is starring Kenneth Branagh and directed by Kenneth Branagh. This is a follow-up to his Murder on the Orient Express movie, a movie I didn't mind, but I didn't super love. But I really was looking forward to this, mainly because the cast in this movie is sensational. From Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot, to Gal Gadot as the bride, to, of course, Armie Hammer. And then you have Letitia Wright, and you have Dawn French, and a bunch of other, like Russell Brand, bunch of other really big names in these movies. And I think that's part of the attraction for these films is the massive, star power that's in these movies. And as I said, I really liked Murder on the Orient Express. I thought that was a fun, good movie. And of course, that had, Johnny Depp and Daisy Ridley. And so, I was interested in Death on the Nile, but of course, with all the drama surrounding Armie Hammer, I wasn't sure if we were ever going to see this movie. And I saw the movie last night, and you know what? I enjoyed this film. It's definitely not great, and I have some issues with it. But overall, I enjoyed Death on the Nile, mainly because of the cast. Gal Gadot, one of my favorite actresses, she is an absolute showstopper in this film, as she always is, but her performance in this movie was also really good. She has quite a few emotional scenes and quite a few, dramatic moments in this movie that I thought she sold really, really well. I think the strongest part about this movie is the first and the second act. Just the setup of this film, the setup of the story where Poirot is, on his holidaying when we first find him. He's in Egypt looking at the pyramids. He's, enjoying some jazz music. And I really enjoyed the character development of Hercule Poirot in this film because, we didn't get a lot of his backstory in Murder on the Orient Express. And in this movie, we really do dive into who the man is, what his background is. Without giving too much away, the movie opens with a flashback to him as a young man in the army. And that was a terrific opening scene. It was like one of the better opening scenes in a movie I've seen in a while. I was gripped by that scene. I really was. And then, jumps into present day with Hercule Poirot, and he ends up on this boat with all these people because Gal Gadot and Armie Hammer have been married, and this is their honeymoon on this boat on the River Nile. And of course, a murder takes place. Now, I am, of course, not going to give away in this movie who gets murdered or who the murderer is. So I'm going to tread very carefully in this video about this movie. But I do think the best parts of this movie were the first and the second act, where all the setup of the characters, introducing us to who the players are in this film, getting to know a bit more of the story, and just seeing these exotic locations, whether it's, Egypt, the pyramids, all that sort of stuff. The movie looks terrific. Like, just from a pure cinematography and color standpoint, it's vibrant, it's beautiful to look at. Then, of course, a murder takes place on this boat. And Hercule Poirot has to, solve the murder and find out who the killer is. And I enjoyed all of that stuff. Of course, in these movies, like in Murder on the Orient Express, he goes around and he conducts interviews with all of the suspects, all of the rest of the characters on the boat. And that was gripping stuff. I loved that. The tension that came out of that. Some of them, totally understood. Well, I understand why he has to ask these questions. Then there were other people on the boat who were like, how dare you accuse me of murdering? I could never do this. And you hear all these characters' reasonings and I was playing like a mental math in my head of, well, yeah, I believe that explanation, and I believe that, oh no, that guy's lying, and that girl's lying, and oh no, but I believe this girl. So on that level, I had a really good time with this movie. Of course, in all these whodunits, and especially with Agatha Christie, and I don't know how it was done in the books, but, I look at something like Knives Out. Okay, Knives Out is a movie that I fucking loved. I loved Knives Out so much. And I think one of the reasons that movie really worked for me was that the trope of, in a whodunit, of the detective standing in the room with the rest of the people and then going through and, talking about how he figured out who the killer is and, well, it's this person because I saw them do this and I saw them do that. That can be really, really boring if not done correctly. And in Knives Out, they found a way to make that scene entertaining and dramatic and fun and tension, filled. And In Death on the Nile, while it's a good scene, it was kind of flat, and I can't work out why, and I think it maybe has something to do with the fact that normally, like with Knives Out, again, you're following that Daniel Craig character. You're seeing everything he's seeing. You're following his investigation as he is discovering stuff. You are discovering stuff. And in Death on the Nile, there are chunks of the clues missing from an audience point of view. At the end of the movie, Hercule Poirot kind of just reveals little details that he's noticed that the audience was never privy to. And so you almost feel like, and I certainly did, that, well, I've missed most of the investigative stuff. I've seen the interviews, but I've missed a lot of the clues. And so by the end of it, I was like, when he reveals who actually did it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, yes, that person did it, but I didn't see how they got there, as far as I didn't get to see it. Hercule Poirot just said that he saw all these details that we as the audience never saw. So it did kind of feel like I was missing bits of the story, like crucial bits of information. And I thought for him to just sort of drop that on the audience of, oh, by the way, I figured it out because of this, the thing that you never saw, it just kind of cheapened it a little bit, and I didn't feel like it gave it the weight. We weren't discovering things as he was discovering them. The other thing with murder mysteries and whodunits is rewatchability. It's a big factor of these kinds of movies. And Knives Out, I'm using Knives Out, by the way, as an example because I think it's a perfect movie. Knives Out, to me, is entirely rewatchable because, yes, even though I know who did it, it's still an entertaining movie, and the characters and the dialogue and the humor and all that stuff, it's still remarkably entertaining. Death on the Nile, and I feel the same way about Murder in the Orient Express. You feel like, okay, I've seen it. I don't need to go back and rewatch it. I don't feel like these movies are entirely rewatchable because it's a little bit flat, like character-wise. I found the characters in Knives Out interesting and engaging and funny, and I got invested in those characters as well as getting invested in Daniel Craig. But in Murder on the Orient Express and in Death on the Nile, they focus a lot on Hercule Poirot's character, and that's fine. He's the lead guy, but they don't do as good of a job getting you attached to the rest of the cast. And so by the time when the killer's revealed, you're sort of like, okay, cool. Why should I care about any of these people? But look, overall, did I have a good time watching Death on the Nile? I did. I actually prefer it to Murder on the Orient Express, and I like both movies. I think this one might be a little better, but I had a good time watching the movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's going to make my top 10 of the year, but hey, it's a good time. I had a good time with, of course, some issues because it is not a perfect movie. But what do you guys think of Death on the Nile? Have you guys seen it yet? If you have, make sure you jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching, guys. My name is Tom, and I will see you guys next time.